In this video, we'll cover the 11 things we wish we knew before we moved overseas or retired overseas.
That's true.
This is Dan of Vagabond Awake.
𝗔_HUI from 𝗕 Venture.
And we thought we would throw out some bones, some scraps for you guys to try to save yourself some trouble. Don't believe everything that you read online.
That's true.
So the internet, and this is even true rather before, but right now especially, everything's clickbait now. They'll come up with some title and image and about how the world ended, and then you'll think about it. For example, you'll hear about how dangerous everywhere is and how it's safe in your home country, or don't go there, it's super dangerous. And after a few years of traveling around and finding pretty much most of the world is just like my home country, meaning there's safe areas and rough areas, and you just, when you're new somewhere, you have to be careful. And I have a whole report on that, by the way. But over time you develop this, you lose the fear because now you know what that place is really like. So don't believe everything that you read online.
Yeah, I can remember that. So I have two stories about that. One story is when we go to Colombia.
Yeah.
And then I read a lot of things online.
Yeah.
It scared me very scared. And then but when I arrive in Colombia, it's not that dangerous like what people are talking about.
Yeah.
It's definitely, you will have a specific place, it's dangerous. Same with all over the world, in your own country, in my country, you know.
Right.
So you just need to use normal precautions to go to this place. Or you just don't go to that place because it's not that, you know, crazy like online talking, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And the second thing is my friends who never been to Mexico, and during the pandemic I have to meet them in Mexico, so I flew from Philippines, and then I go to Japan, change, and then go to Mexico City, have to transit, take a night, and then fly to Puerto Escondido. And then when I'm in the Mexico City, my friends say, hey, you cannot go out from the hotel, it's very dangerous in Mexico. I like, dear, in Mexico many times, we've been there for like, 6 months, we went to like 20 cities.
Yeah, it was probably a year at least there, two different visits, 20 all over Mexico.
And I said, I know how dangerous is Mexico, okay? I know where I can go and where I should not go, but ask me don't stay off from a hotel room, that is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I've never been robbed, beaten, mistreated in Mexico, and I've spent years there over my life. It's been one of my go-to countries, which I'll talk about more later. So yeah, fear and clickbait. Don't believe everything you read online. It's okay to read this, maybe what the State Department says, but the State Department also exaggerates sometimes because they don't want an American to go to a country who's uneducated and do stupid stuff and end up in jail, and then they have to get involved. So they're pretty conservative with their opinion, but when you're new, just take their opinion for what it is. Don't go to those places if you're uncomfortable. Nothing wrong with that. So
yeah. But
most of what you read online, I wouldn't bother paying much attention to. You'll know whether someone's full of shit based on the story, not the title.
True.
And go, good. The next thing is moving overseas or retiring overseas is not a vacation. It's not like a vacation.
Yeah.
When you've traveled overseas, for temporary, a few weeks, maybe even a month somewhere or a week, you spend money like there's no tomorrow. The trip might cost you $1,000, $2,000, and then when you get there, you throw another $700, $1,000, who knows? On a credit card, you get home, and the whole thing costs you, $3,000 for like 7 days or something. You can't do that when you're moving or retiring overseas. You have to live there like you do in your home country, you have to, and so otherwise you're going to end up fat, poor, and bored. Bored even. Yeah. See, when you're on vacation, all that stuff you do, sit on the beach all day and drink, margaritas or whatever your thing is, running around just doing stuff all day long. A steady diet of that the whole time you're living overseas will be boring. You have to develop more routines. You have to cook at home. You have to work out at the gym, go for runs. You have to develop like a more meaningful life in one way or another. So Don't spend money or act like you're on vacation when you move. Otherwise, you're just going to go way over budget. So.
And you will end up homeless.
Homeless, yeah.
And then you will end up go back to your U.S. embassy, ask them to send you home.
I have a video on that too.
Be careful about this.
Yeah. If you would like to learn how I fired my boss and traveled the world for 16 years and how I pay for things, grab a free copy of my ebook. Next one up is local SIM cards for your phone. What you want to do, and very few countries anymore that will lock your phone so you can't use SIMs other than with that provider. Get your phone unlocked if you're in one of those countries like the United States, and then when you go overseas, as soon as you land, you put a local SIM in your card, or I'm sorry, local SIM card in your phone, and it's going to be so much cheaper. You're probably going to end up spending $10 a month with unlimited, or maybe 20 unlimited. It will blow your mind.
True.
And then everything on your phone, you'll either get through Wi-Fi wherever you are in your house or your or coffee shop or wherever you are at the moment, or through your phone's data. You don't need to roam on an international phone line. You won't believe how much that costs. So don't fool with that. Get local SIMs.
Yeah.
Visas. When you go traveling overseas, you should know that all over the world, the embassy web pages that describe what the visas are to visit that country, whether tourist, retiree, student, employment, they're wholly inefficient with information. They don't tell you everything that you're going to learn when you get on the ground in that country and talk to some of the expats that have been there for a long period of time. You won't believe the kind of visas that they're getting. They're not just getting retirement visas or employment visas, they're getting all sorts of things, student visas, charity visas, they get visa runs, extensions, and you'll only find that stuff out until you get into that country. And the way you meet those expats is on the Facebook expat pages, and also locals, and then also visa agents for that country. You can just Google the country name and the words visa agent, and just start asking questions online, email or whatever.
So you are talking that do not believe everything in the immigration website.
Yeah, for example, like the Philippines. When we flew there, we thought we could only we could go for 33 and then do one extension for 30 days. But when we got on the ground, our neighbor told us he'd been there for like 6 years and he'd only left the country once, because they have this 36-month. You get up to 36 months just by getting monthly or bi-monthly extensions up to 6 months. You pay these extension fees on tourist visas. And none of that was on the web page. You won't see that anywhere. And so you don't learn it until you talk to locals or you take it to a lot of these places.
I have one very funny story telling about the visa thing, but I don't advise you to do that. In the Philippines, one of our neighbors also said that he never go to extend any visa. So he came in with a one visa. He left after 5-6 months. He just paid the penalty fee. Yeah. Well, you have to be careful about that. The country will ban you that will not able to come back to that country.
Some countries will.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think since he told us that, they've raised their fees on overstay.
Yeah,
it's actually quite expensive now, so I'm sure he's getting extensions now. But don't do stuff like that unless you talk to somebody who's been doing it and you find out all the details. Don't assume that something you read online. Remember, what you read online, don't believe. You have to double research it yourself.
I would say that seen in the Philippines, the extended visa is very easy. Out and in 10 minutes, you are done.
Yeah.
So don't risk that thing.
Don't risk it, and it's cheap too. It's like $30 a month or something like that. So, okay, next up, ground travel. During your working years, if you're going to go to a country and spend, say, a month even, you might pick 3 cities, and you're going to fly between those cities. And you might pay, to get there round trip, maybe $800, $1,000, $1,500, depends on what country it is. And then when you're there, you might buy 3 more flights or buying in advance, and those might be $100, $200 each. And you can save a lot of money by doing ground transportation, buses, trains, minivans. Just every country's different. But if you're going to be a slow traveler like we are and travel around the world, you can't buy flights everywhere you're going to go. You can ride ferries and buses and trains and the ways you can get around for cheap are like really amazing. And so ground transportation is something that I wish I knew when I first moved overseas.
I think that some people, they are new out from the country.
Yeah.
So they are worried about on the ground, when you're on the public buses,
well said.
they're scared about that, you know.
Yeah.
But on here, I would like to share our experience when we travel the world. We are in Latin America, which is Mexico, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. And so we travel by buses. We also travel by buses from Colombia, crossing border to Ecuador.
Yeah.
And then also with the buses, also crossing the border from the Ecuador to Peru.
Yeah.
We all this country is connected together. We are using all the public transport as on the bus.
Yeah.
So it's very easy. And in the Southeast Asia, we are also taking buses, trains, and also the jeepney, tuk-tuk, ferry, you know, whatever they have.
Yeah.
And it costs really less money, and it's comfortable when we are taking the ferry as well. You know, they have a bed and everything. But only one thing in Latin America that surprised me when we're taking the buses.
Yeah.
That is in Ecuador. As you know, why we're taking the buses instead of flight? Because the flight, they weigh your luggage.
Yeah.
They will charge you for over, you know, the certain luggage.
Right.
After like 20, they will charge you more money.
Yeah.
So we were thinking it's cheaper to travel by the land, by the bus. And then in Ecuador, they say, oh, sir, your luggage is over 20 kg. We need to charge you after the 20 kg. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I never hear about that.
Yeah.
Unusual. Taking buses, and you have to charge me for the extra luggage.
Yeah.
Well, we just pay. You know, that's only one.
But it was a lower fee, wasn't it, than trying to pay for luggage on an airplane?
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Like 80% off or something. And the other thing is, when you're on buses traveling around a country, you really get to know that country. You see what the towns look like, what the streets are like, what the landscape is, mountains, streams, rivers, lakes, beaches. You really get to know a country when you're on a bus. When you fly over it, well, I don't know how planes fly, but how high, but you know, you look down, look out the window, you might make out a mountain or something, or a city. But no detail, you have no idea what that country's really like. And that's the other thing we love about ground transportation.
And also that, to be honest, it's cheaper to be traveled by the bus than the plane.
Way cheaper, like 90% most of the time off. Instead of $100 flights between cities that are only, you know, 3-4 hours apart, you're talking $10. So next up is restaurants. In many parts of the West, when you want to go out to eat somewhere, you go somewhere you know, or you're like, hey, are there new restaurants in town? You pull out Google, you start reading comments on new restaurants, you start seeing what the rankings are. Hey, look at this one, 4 or 5, 200 comments, and you read their comments, it all sounds good. That's called social proof, okay? So social proof is a little different when you go overseas. You might be walking somewhere, Peru, Thailand,
all the Southeast Asia.
Yeah, all of the world's in the retired chief reports on vagabondbuddha.com where we've been. Almost all of them, you'll be walking down the street and you'll see a line of people. Like, why are they standing there? And you'll walk up a little closer and you'll see it's like a restaurant and it's all locals in line. And if you eat in that restaurant, you're going to find what really good local food is, because that's called social proof outside, you know, the West. Also, the West could have lines, but when you're in these countries, that's how you find the best local food.
It's true. And also that if you go and interview those people on the line, I bet you they say that, I don't know, I just see there's a line, I think they must have a good food. So I also jumping on the line to get, you know, Asian people, like, they don't want to lose face, you know, they want to say, oh, there must be a good food over there, I should go there and get the food.
Next up is pricing. When expats move overseas, they're a little bit crazy with money because they're so used to what it costs in their home country. But after you've been there a week or two, you'll start to understand what things should cost. And when someone quotes you a price for something, you should have a bell that goes off in your head and it says, dummies pay that. And then you should be able to spend a little time trying to find out what the actual local prices is, or go somewhere else. Don't even fool with that place. I mean, it's okay to negotiate, but generally they're trying to pick your pocket, if you will. They want you to buy them lunch. You want to try to pay local prices, and so it's kind of like when you're a kid. You remember, your family's going somewhere, and your mom said, "Put on your shoes," and she said, "Go to your room and put on your shoes." You run to your room and you go like this. "Oh, can't find my shoes. Mom, I can't find my shoes." And your mom comes back. She looks in the room and goes, "They're right there, right in front of you." And then you, "Oh, okay," and you put your shoes on. It's the same thing. Dummies pay those high prices. If you look as if it's there instead of, "I can't find it, I have to pay the high price." If you look and believe it's here somewhere, you'll find more of the local price. So dummies pay that, you don't.
Example?
Oh gosh, we were just in the market with vinyl floors and shopping carts, and we're not the public market.
I would say it's a supermarket.
A supermarket.
It's a general supermarket, big supermarket, clean, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And so I saw tomatoes. I went, "Wow, these are beautiful tomatoes." So I picked up 4 of them. I put them in a bag. Now there was no price anywhere, right? I took them over to the place. He weighed them and said 298 pesos, which is like $6 for 4 tomatoes. I'm like, $1.50 per tomato? That's crazy. And so I went and I put them back, in the little bag with the price on them. And then when we went to a little neighborhood place near our house, Chung was able to find how many tomatoes?
6 tomatoes.
It was like 6 tomatoes, and it was paid how many? 40 pesos?
I think 40 or 60, I can't remember.
So more tomato at 80% off, whatever that is, 40 pesos. Crazy. And so don't pay that. Don't pay that. Go look for the shoes like your mom looked for your shoes, not like you did. Next up, I want to talk about, don't fall in love with the first country that you see overseas. Okay, it's very common. When you first leave your home country and you're spending time somewhere that maybe you've read about, or maybe you actually spent some time there on vacation, and you're used to it, you're already comfortable there, and the prices are right, and everything's lovely, you might be tempted to just fall in love with it and retire there or move there. But while you're there, if you move around to some of the nearby countries by buses and trains and take a little more time, you might find something that's even feels more like home to you, or more comfortable, or more like, I don't know, just feels better to you than the first country you fell in love with. So that's something I would say you need to really look around a little bit before you make that final decision. For most of my life, I had done some traveling. Canada, I've been to Europe, been to the Caribbean, a couple different places, but I really fell in love with it. It was the first country I really fell in love with. And I would just go Mexico, Mexico, Mexico. Like probably 8 out of 10 of my vacations would be down to Mexico. I've been, Puerto Vallarta, Playa del Carmen, Cancun, Huatulco. Only on the beaches and stuff though. And it was Mexico, Mexico, Mexico. I fell in love with it. And then finally, when I went to Southeast Asia, I totally fell in love the first time with Thailand. And then it was Thailand, 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 Thailand. And then I later went to the Philippines. It was Philippines, 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 Philippines. So this idea that the first one you fall in love with is your last love, I think you might be surprised by all the other places you go. It's not like finding a needle in a haystack. You're going to love a lot of places around the world. Do a little bit of looking around before you make up your mind to go permanent somewhere and put down roots. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Backup banking.
Backup banking.
Yeah. So one of the things you need to do is have a backup banking source. When you're overseas, anything could happen. If you have a single ATM and credit card, you need multiple banks and multiple credit cards. An example, when I first left overseas, I was in a taxi and I had my ATM card, and after I got money out of an ATM, somehow that card went missing, and I didn't know if it was stolen, I didn't know what happened, and it took me a month to get that ATM card replaced. Luckily, I keep some cash around, so I was able to last till that came, plus I had my credit cards. But if I had a backup banking plan, which I do now, I would have been able to use that ATM for that whole month. And imagine if the credit cards have gone missing too. It could be trouble. Now, I also, as I said, I keep some cash around in case of this sort of thing. But backup banking is something I recommend. And I recommend at least one of your banks be Charles Schwab, because they rebate foreign transaction fees.
I see.
Yeah.
From my experience, I have multi-bank bank ATM card. I don't use credit card.
Right.
Yeah. The banking system in USA and Malaysia is different. You know, if you got scam or anything, the bank doesn't protect you.
It doesn't protect you.
Yeah. So I don't use credit card.
Right.
And I have 2 bank card or 3. I have 3-4 bank card. So I carry with them. Or I only use 1 bank card, which is I put a little money.
Right.
And then I use that to swap the machine, ATM purchases,
okay,
whatever. I use that card.
Right.
So I move my money from one bank to the card that I need to use.
So you only have enough in there so that if something's stolen, you only lose what's in the little banking account instead of what's in the big one.
Yes.
That's smart. This one might surprise you. Time is not money when you go overseas. You see, during your working years, you may only get a couple weeks off per year, and time's very valuable to you. So you go somewhere you know you're going to love, you rent a really expensive place on the beach or someone you really love, because you only have 7 days. You really want to take advantage of your time off, because you're going to drag your butt back to work and you're going to be there the other 50 weeks of the year or whatever it is. So those 2 weeks you want to make the most out of. And so in that case, time is money, because you want to make sure you have a good time, so you're willing to spend more because you're only going to be there a few weeks. But when you move to a place, or when you slow travel like we do, you have time. So time's not money anymore, especially when you're retired. What you have a lot of is time, and you have more of you're trying to keep your budget down in retirement. And so time is not money anymore. I would say if you're going to go someplace for more than a couple weeks, you need to start figuring how to save money. And get out of this mindset is that, oh, I can save 5 minutes by paying $10 instead of $2, or I can save 3 days of looking around for the perfect apartment because this one's nice enough. It's got what I need. It's in a good area. Hey, I'll pay there $600 a month. Time is not money when you move overseas. The last thing is, if you're going to be dating overseas, if you're single and you're going to be dating overseas, just remember to throw up your profile wherever you go. When I was single, I had my profile up on Tinder, and everywhere I went, I would just put whatever city I'm in Tinder, and once in a while I would get a date with someone interesting. So when I was single, slow traveling, whenever I'd go to a new city, I would just throw my location in whatever city I was in. And once in a while I would go on a nice date with somebody. The interesting thing about Tinder internationally was, it's not a different app, it's the same app, just the city has changed. Is that if I was in a country where they didn't speak English, it wasn't the primary language, I would get, hit here and there, and I would be able to go and meet somebody and go out and have fun or whatever. No, it's okay, and because they spoke English, and maybe my language skills weren't so good in that country. But also, if you're going to be there longer term, more than a few weeks or whatever, find out whatever the local dating app is, and throw your profile app in there, and just put your app in English, and or you can translate it both in English and the local language on Google Translate, and then see what comes out of it. People might contact you just because you can speak English with them and improve their English skills, and so keep that in mind if you're single.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
When I'm single, when I'm traveling, when I go overseas, I also put my profile. It's not only in Tinder. I put on all the different kind of profile.
Yeah.
But if they don't speak English, I don't talk with them. I don't want to waste my time. When I go overseas, I also put my profile on those dating apps, and not only Tinder, I put different apps also they are using. And yeah, so I can meet someone who speaks English, and to show me about, not show me, I'm not really like to hang out with them when I first know that. I will like listen to them about where is the best place of the best spot of the city that I can go around, what the food, all of this.
Exactly.
So it's a very nice dating apps to meet someone that can bring you around, and maybe if you have a chemistry or anything, it will lead to the friendship or even more,
Right. Yeah, we met on Tinder.
Yeah.
And then finally, if you're interested in slow traveling like we do, I have a video up called "How to Slow Travel the World for 14 Years." on a tourist visa. I'll put that up here somewhere. Click and watch that.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for watching our video.
Thank you so much.
If you've enjoyed the video, please like, comment.
And subscribe.
We'll see you later. See you in the next video.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.